Phyllis, the accounting manager, uses Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2009 in her daily work to apply payments to purchase invoices and to handle payments to vendors. Sometimes she needs to change payment terms for certain vendors, and the Payables feature makes this easy for her to do. With this part of Microsoft Dynamics NAV, Phyllis can automate many account management procedures and tailor and customize service to individual vendors. By doing so, not only does she improve vendor relationships, but she improves cash flow and reduces bad debt expenses. When she needs to, Phyllis can also use advanced functionality to handle transactions in multiple currencies. Phyllis applies a payment to open purchase invoices from one of her vendors, London Postmaster. Phyllis sets up the payment journal. She leaves the amount field blank, but could choose to apply a partial payment. At a glance, Phyllis can see all open outstanding payable entries for this vendor. She updates the first 2 items in the list to associate them with the payment journal ID she just created. The program fills in the document number from the payment journal, but this information can also be entered manually in the payment journal itself. When she is finished, she can see what amount has been applied in the Amount to Apply field. She can also check that it matches the applied amount. In the payment journal, Phyllis can see that the correct payment amount has been entered into the amount field. Satisfied that she has entered the information correctly, she checks her options for preparing a check and then posts the payment journal. Phyllis also checks that all the ledger entries are complete. She opens the vendor card for London Postmaster, and from there can drill into related information on the ledger entries. By default, the payment is being handled using the manual method, but Phyllis can also choose to set up the program to use the Apply to Oldest method, in which case Microsoft Dynamics NAV applies payments to open entries with the oldest dates first. The Payables feature enables you to manage purchases and accounts payable through individual accounts for each vendor. The payment journal is fully integrated with the general ledger, which means that when you post a transaction, the program posts all necessary transactions, for example, to the purchase account, the payables account, and possibly the discount and VAT accounts. The Payables feature is flexible and allows you to apply a single payment to several outstanding invoices and payment credit memos. You can also specify partial payments. At the beginning of each week, Phyllis pays the purchase invoices due at the end of the week. She wants to have Microsoft Dynamics NAV suggest all the payments due on open invoices for vendors. Phyllis begins the process of setting up Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2009 to suggest payments. She starts by opening the payment journal. Phyllis uses the Suggest Vendor Payments batch job to complete her task. She specifies which vendors to include and adds options indicating that she wants payments to be summarized by two dimensions, area and purchaser, and that the payment method is from a bank account. As Phyllis applies entries, she can see at a glance which orders are covered by each suggested payment. The Suggest Vendor Payments feature enables you to manage payables on a regular basis without having to manually create each single vendor entry. Microsoft Dynamics NAV automatically creates, applies, and suggests vendor payments, and these can be summarized per vendor. For example, the vendor is to receive a single payment for the net balance due or not. Phyllis discovers that the payment she applied earlier to open purchase invoices from vendor London Postmaster should have been applied to overdue purchase invoices from Lewis Home Furniture. She therefore wants to unapply all vendor entries related to the transaction to be able to reapply the payment correctly. Phyllis opens the Vendor Ledger Entries window for the payment. From there, she can undo the ledger entries, and Microsoft Dynamics NAV will post correcting entries for her. After undoing the transaction, Phyllis can see that the status of certain ledger entries is now set to open. Phyllis could have also chosen to use the reverse transaction function to reverse the incorrectly applied payment and apply it instead to the correct vendor.